Hello and welcome to the Inspire Life podcast. My name is Michael. I'm your producer and your host, and today I'm really pumped to bring to you an interview I did with a special guest. His name is Mark Haugen, and we really just had a deep conversation about health and where we're at. Mark is a client of mine through Inspire Health Coaching. He's also a wedding DJ and has been in the industry for years, helping create memorable moments for so many people. So Mark, you'll hear in the interview, just has a special energy about him. And when he came to me, we were just really focused on getting that energy back to where he wanted to be. So through vision creation and experimentation and setting goals and just trying new things, Mark's got that spark back, and we'll talk more about that in the episode. But for the most part, this is just a fun conversation. We do talk about some important topics and things that you'll be able to take away going forward, and that's about it. So I'm going to let us take it away from here. Welcome to the Inspire Life podcast. My name is Michael. I am your producer and co-host, more like permanent host at this point. Dr. Mel hasn't been on in a while, but that's besides the point. Anyway, today I'm really excited. I have a friend of mine, a client of mine, just an overall awesome human being, Mark Haugen, on the show. And we don't really have a script, which if you've listened before, you know that I never really have a script. But it was kind of a whim here. I texted Mark this morning, asked if he was free to shoot a podcast, and he said yes. So here we are. I'm going to just let Mark take it away from the start, and we'll get talking. We're going to talk about different topics. I'm sure it'll be health related, if you can hear that in the back there. What is that, Mark? What do you got going?
Brought myself a pitcher of water to follow my own accountability strategy to drink about a gallon of water today. So I'm going to do it throughout the show.
And for those listening, it's legit pitcher of water. You actually said that your kids used it for lemonade.
Yeah, lemonade stand in the summer. Yeah.
Awesome. So finding other uses, not just to make a quarter a cup. So So I've been working with Mark for a while. And if you want to just, talk about maybe yourself first before we get into that, anything that you feel inspired to share.
Yeah, I think it's just been a great year. It's been just over a year, I think, since we've started meeting together. And to have a health coach has been super beneficial to help me think through holistically. Actually, this quote from St. Francis de Sales I'll share with you here is, be who you are and be that well. And so that's what I think of when I think of Inspire Life, is that there's you guys are set up, and your mission is to help people be their wellest, bestest selves. For sure. Know what I mean? And some of that is not as much the way we think of wellness in terms of just eating and drinking and exercising. There's a lot deeper, because actually I think that what I love about English, I also hate about it, is there's not one way to look at that word well.
Right.
But if you think about to be well, you have to go deep into the well that we all are. We're multi-layered. We're spiritual beings, we're physical beings, we're mental beings. There's so much to us.
Mark's going deep right off the bat. I love it. And I thank you just for sharing your experience, and really hit home on what Dr. Mel and I are, and what we've tried to create is a space for people to experience health and wellness as they are. And then she uses the term authentic being. For me, it's just we're all an individual, right? So we need to find our own individual ways to live healthy lives, to have fun, to experience joy. Those are really important parts of wellness too. And that's something that, Mark, I think you know better than most people, is how to have fun and enjoy yourself. So,
well, yeah, and my career has been incredibly, I'm just super blessed to celebrate people's favorite day of their lives every weekend, DJing weddings. And I'm part of being also kind of a wedding planner and a DJ body. I help coordinate and make sure that all the vendors are taken care of and have a great experience, and it's a wonderful life. But I do get exhausted, I get tired, and I'm off kilter, I get off center, and that's why I need to come back to this. And I poured a pitcher of water. I have this pitcher of water because I need to just fill up and refill, retune, rekey up myself.
Water is the essence of life, as they say. Yeah, no, Mark is like he said, he's awesome. I actually met him at my sister's wedding, and he just, when you meet Mark, he has such an energy and a presence about yourself that You're just fun to be around, and it's awesome that we've been connected and be able to work in the way that we have together. And with that, being, as you mentioned, working with me as a health coach, it's not, as Mark said, it's not just food, it's not just movement, it's not just the basic things that we think of with health and wellness. It's really an integrated and deep approach. And I think you had something that you wanted to share about the best ways to take care of yourself on a day-to-day basis. So we'll go there next.
Yeah, so it's actually just came to me either late last night or first thing this morning. My memories need to get jogged. I think it was late last night. I found this Charlie Chaplin quote. If you know him, interestingly, when you think about Charlie Chaplin and a lot of these like famous people, he was the silent film guy, and you had this image that I think of him as he's got this cane, or is it an umbrella, and he's kicking his feet, and he's like kicking them in the air to the left. Like that to me, that's Charlie Chaplin.
Right.
You don't think of like the depth of the person.
Mm-hmm.
So hear this quote, and I don't know how these quotes find you via algorithms, but they just did. And so this one was this: the 6 biggest doctors in the world are sun, rest, exercise, diet, self-respect, and friends. Stick to them at all stages in your life and enjoy a healthy life. And for me, what I've loved about Inspire Life, and particularly Michael in particular, is he's not trying to be a doctor. He's not trying to like have a solution. He's trying to help point you to your own solutions, the doctors that exist out there. And so like this quote kind of almost embodies what I felt like I've learned for the last year, is that we need sun, we need rest, we need exercise, we do need to have a proper diet. We need then self-respect, which is kind of its own sort of thing. And the way I've embodied that or tried to figure that out is through journaling every day, which Michael is very good at encouraging. And so I've been really working on that over the last year. And then I like the last one is friends. And I think through this process, he and I have become really good friends. And so, playing golf or, hopefully playing pickleball or tennis soon, so.
Yeah, well, I thank you for sharing that. And I mean, there's so much wisdom that can be found just in that quote, in the things that, again, contemporarily speaking, when it comes to health and wellness, we're told one thing, we're sold one idea, we're given certain messages, and at the end of the day, a lot of times those are way more complex than it has to be. And I think, when you sent me that quote or shared it with me earlier before we started recording, that self-respect and friends piece is so often forgotten and ignored. Mm-hmm. Self-respect just in the sense of the messages that we're telling ourselves and the ability to believe in ourselves and accomplish things and know that we can do what it is we want to do, whether it's related to health and wellness, whether it's related to our career, business. There's so many messages out there telling us that we need to think or act a certain way to achieve certain results, and that's just not true. As long as you have belief in yourself, you'll get there. And then the friends piece is big, right? Especially with what we've experienced in the last 20 months, just having community and people that you can lean on and be yourself with, right? Like we are right now.
Right.
It's something that we got to come back to, I think, just as, viewing it from a social perspective, especially, me in my situation, taking care of 2 young kids, like bringing them back to school and everything has been huge because that social aspect is such a key piece of our development. And I know if Mel was here, she would have, the neurological and all that fancy talk. But long story short, you all see it too, listeners, that it's really important to have that social connection, to have community and people that you can lean into and lean on when you need to. So, Mark, any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing that I can say over the last 20 months that I learned is I started a little, it's kind of a hack podcast. It's not on the platforms in any sort of proper way. It's on my website. And
I'm going to interrupt quick.
No problem.
Mark is all about like anti-status quo, right? So like,
well, there's reasons.
He's not going to post his stuff on like Facebook and all that because honestly, if we look at the issues of Facebook, that's a whole different podcast episode. And social media itself is kind of societal poison in some ways. I'm just going to throw it out there. So Mark has been really strong about staying off that. But anyway, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
Well, there's reasons, and to be fair. Facebook, as it was 2006, which is now 15 years ago, it's hard to believe, 2006 to 2010, we'll say, maybe 11 even, really, really powerful tool that had not much dark influence when it launched, because it really connected. You had such random serendipitous connections happening with people that whoa, dude, I haven't seen you in whatever. Yeah. There was that power in that, and it still does have that to some degree. But obviously, it's evolved into this massive behemoth that it is, and there's a lot of other reasons why it exists. But no, my podcast, back to the point, is that I just realized during this, we'll call it it's just the reset, the shutdown, all of these things that happened, really isolated a lot of us. And I think isolation, if I've learned anything in my journaling, there's nothing more unhealthy that we can do than to isolate ourselves. Isolation is death, and it's going to kill us way more than any other thing that media or Facebook might tell you is going to hurt you and put you down. Isolation is cancer. It really is. So I think that's been the thing of community and why we need friends, and we really need to look at the messaging that's coming at us, telling us to stay far away from people. That's not good. That's not good messaging. The health. It can be messaging, but the idea that that's keeping us healthy and keeping us safe, I'm sorry, it's not. We have to be together. We have to have that friendship.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned what Dr. Mel would say, but we have a social branch of our nervous system that comes out of our vagus nerve, right, where we connect with people. And when we're not able to connect with people, we're not essentially firing on all cylinders. It's easy for us to get inside our own heads. Things like anxiety and depression come about when we're in states of isolation, like Mark is talking about. So it's definitely good and healthy and safe to be around loved ones, be around friends. That's an important part of just being a human. We're communal beings. As far as we can look back, we've been communal beings, and as far as I can see forward, I think we'll continue to be communal beings because, again, experiencing things with other people is what brings us joy, and joy is such an important part of life. And if you look at it, I mean, you mentioned like the deeper realms and spiritual and stuff, right? Like if we're going to look at the universe as just a vibrational plane, if we can operate out of joy and love, that's where we're going to find biggest breakthroughs. That's where we're going to find true health and wellness. That's where we're going to help uplift everyone around us.
Right, so. And I can say that the vibrations that happen in my work, which is musical, is playing songs to dance to. Really great experience last Saturday. Minneapolis, the venues, I haven't had a chance to play a lot of them because a lot of them have just been very cautious to be reopen inside, this sort of thing. Finally, I think it's starting to change over the last month and a half. Yeah. And so this particular venue I had not played before, but I knew about Lynn Lake Brewing. It's on Lindale Lake, so also very near some of the craziness that was happening back in May, June last year. But it was awesome because they have this window that's like a folding door, and they just like open it up, which is weird because it's like I thought it was odd that they were doing it, but they just cranked it open. So basically you have the passersby on Lindale, which I know that's been kind of reduced, right, of lately, but they just opened up. This is a private wedding party with about 60 people total inside dancing. And then the doors open, and then the passersby are going by. But basically what happened was one of them made a request for Lady Gaga, Born This Way. So I play that song, and they just went crazy for it. And it just so happens that this massive crew came by right at the same time. They're tripping on it, and we're like reaching out through the window it was like a coming together through that bridging in it. It was just awesome. Powerful. Private party, public. And it was awesome. And so like that's the thing that brings the joy, and it was a surprise to me because I actually kind of got sort of tripped on it too. When it strikes your nerve, you're like, whoa, this is joy. Yeah. I'm experiencing this. Like it takes you out of all of what would, as you said, depression, downtroddenness. Oh, I can't do this. Woe is me. There's no hope in this life. These sorts of moments I live for. Why do I do this? I've been doing it 26 years because on those weekends when there's those breakthrough moments, it's like I'm alive.
You feel alive, yeah.
And that's what it's about. This is about inspiring life, being alive.
No puns intended ever. I do want to ask you a couple more questions. So As Mark mentioned, we've worked together for about a year. What would you share about your experience working with me and working with the Inspire Life kind of brand and team? Also, if that's a question you don't want to answer, the other question could be, what would you tell people who are maybe on the fence thinking about hiring a health coach or working with D-Chef, Dr. Mel? Drop that.
Is it the first time you ever dropped that?
I think, yeah.
Turtle? So anyways.
Man. Okay, I call my sister Mel, Dr. Mel D-Chef, and it's this long, 5-year-old inside joke, but
it's inside. We love D-Chef. Cheers.
Cheers to D-Chef.
No, I think what's great is that, where I connected with Mel was her wedding dance, and I've never seen someone a bride, so one bazillion times dialed into this dance. I mean, she is just fully committed, and I just loved it so much up there. Where was that again? It was one of the Finnegan's, which is a great brewery in Minneapolis. That was so much fun. The thing with this place is, and what you guys, if you're on the fence about, we all need people that spark us. My podcast is recorded at a place called Spark Studios. And we need sparks when you because we're all like matches, okay? You're not gonna light by just standing there. Mm-hmm. You gotta go against something. You have to come up against something. But let me tell you, and whatever that material is, whatever that stuff is that is on a matchbox, Inspire Life has that. So it's just you come in there, they're not they want to spark you forward. And so I think that, into finding out, again, being who you are and being that most authentic self, the most well that you possibly could be. So there's no doubt in my mind, from my experience over the last year, that this has helped me, propelled me to really look at the whole thing of who I am and what's my life and what's going to make me well. Because the question was, when we first met, what's your wellness vision? Mm-hmm. How do you, and this is what I think you need. We all need a vision to get through hard things. And so the vision wasn't, hey, I want to be famous or I want to be the next. It was no, what's the image for you? And so for me, it happened to be where I had taken my daughter surfing and tried surfing, and I couldn't do it like I want to do it. But I watched these guys, this guy in particular, he was kiteboarding, and just, he was 65 years old, and he was just flying over these waves, making these 20-somethings look silly. And I was like, when I'm that age, that's what I want to be. That's my wellness vision. And I wouldn't have, there's not a chance that without that influence of Dr. Mel or Michael here, that I would have really identified that as this is the goal of where I want to go or what I want to look like, So, and it's a bigger thing, how is it going to get there? It's going to take a long process, but at least it was sparked and it was ignited because we met.
For sure. Yeah. And it's, if you've worked with me or you've seen some of what I post, having that vision is, as Mark said, so critical. I have my own vision. We really have a lot of power within our minds to create what it is that we want out of our lives. And if we start with a vision, with an understanding of where it is we want to go, that's going to help guide us in different ways to get there. Otherwise, you might just be kind of running around, for lack of a better phrase, like a chicken with your head cut off, which happens, right? Before we end, because usually I try and cap these right around 20 minutes. So the final question I always ask all of our guests, if you have tuned in before, and it's very, very broad, very open-ended, and oftentimes it sparks another conversation. Again, no pun intended. We're sparking things here. What would you leave, when it comes to any realm of life, whether it's health and wellness, right? We've talked about a couple different topics today. What would you just tell our guests and want to let our guests know? I guess your wisdom to share that you want them to leave this episode and remember and go forth with, right? There's already been some tidbits that I think will carry forth, but what's the most important message that you're trying to share with the audience today? Besides bring a pitcher of water with you wherever you go, which is an awesome thing.
It's a challenging question to distill the essence of what should be remembered. I am figuring this out even as I'm trying to articulate it. What I do know is that you have to open yourself up to the universe personally so this would be my encouragement. What I'm working on is I wake up, I was inspired by a woman who wrote the book called The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron, about doing morning pages. That's the journal. You get up, you just start writing. You don't have any sort of filter. And we need to try as best we can to be open like our unconscious selves are when we wake up in the morning, is to just allow the universe, the senses, to just take it in and then channel it. And writing is one way to channel it. You could paint, you could do whatever it is that you do, but open yourself up, allow the surroundings that you're in, wherever you may be, just allow that stuff to speak to you, to mold you, to shape you, because that is how you will know how to be and how to do your best life. In the moment, every day, every moment, waking up and allowing yourself to be open.
Yeah, that's that book, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. She talks about, as Mark said, these morning pages, and like you said, it's the one time of the day when we're truly just as we are, and we're able to channel things through us without having different ideas or thoughts or messages in our brain already. So I would even take what you said one step further, and I would say find a routine, at least especially in the morning, where you are, again, kind of common theme of today's episode, but where you're not being bombarded with outside messages and influences right away, right? Like if you're waking up and the first thing you do is you get on Instagram or you check your email or text, whatever it may be, I challenge you to just pause and wait maybe 15 minutes. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to go write. Doesn't mean you have to go, like Mark said, paint or do like whatever sort of creative outlet, which if you can do that, that's probably the most ideal, is what Julia is sharing. But if you can at least just pause and wait before allowing things from the external influence or from other people per se to come into your being, see what comes up for you. I would challenge you also to maybe write some things down or create, but just start with that pause. There's a lot of power in just taking the first 15 minutes of being awake every day to just kind of channel consciousness and just exist in space before, whatever it is that comes up. Kids, work, life. Any thoughts on that?
Agreed. I can't agree more. In fact, the step further for me would be looking at opening myself up to more and more of that presence all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't quite know how to do that once you've begun your day and responsibilities and things sort of kind of overtake you. But the more we try to live in that type of openness, the less frustrated we will get, because we will not be reverse engineering our lives. Yeah. Which is kind of what the mainstream messages are. Yeah. Is chase this, go get this, you need that, and then rebuild. And and no wonder it falls apart, because you don't need that to begin with. You need what's in here to be centered. And so that's my challenge, is to be just be open at the beginning, try to be open in the middle, and try to be open at the end of every day to be centered.
That's so awesome. Be open, be in the moment, and just be. We're human beings after all. So, Mark.
Cheers.
Thank you,
Michael.
My friend. Yes, good times. I just cheered with the old fist bump. For all of our listeners, as always, keep inspiring, and we'll see you again next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to the Inspire Life podcast today. Please comment, like, and subscribe on whatever channel it is you're listening in on today. Also, don't forget to check out our websites, inspirelifechirocenter.com as well as coachkrug.com. There you can get in touch to start working with Dr. Mel or myself. And lastly, don't forget to join the Inspire Twin Cities community on Facebook. That's where Dr. Mel and I share all of our content, and it's your best place to interact with us. So looking forward to seeing you there. And as always, keep inspiring. Thank you.